Hello again, this is the 27th of June 2024 and this is another Aughty Thoughty, me and my spin, and this time it is the sketch comedy trio Foil Arms and Hog. And to describe their act to someone who has no idea is a little bit complicated because they have a stage show which they describe as their main focus, which tours Europe, North America, Australia, and they also do a lot of stage shows in their native Dublin and Edinburgh Fringe, of course. And they also post individual sketches, a few minutes long, on YouTube and Facebook and so on, every Thursday morning, which they have described as a side project, but again, it does have a very big following. They have a, they're very close to getting their gold YouTube badge, apparently. It's actually quite hard to gauge their popularity because, their following is largely online. They've never done a TV series or anything that, you could count the number of viewers or anything like that. And because it's online as well, their fan base is scattered throughout the world. And as I say, they have this, they are very close to their gold YouTube badge. They have their I forget how many followers it is exactly. I think it's 100,000 followers. It's more than that, is it? 1 million? Can't remember. It's got a lot of zeros anyway. It's one and a lot of zeros followers. But then, when I sort of make reference to them in conversation or in, even comments in public Facebook groups and things, it doesn't get any response. It's as if no one's ever heard of them. Although, as I say, they have the big online following. But then the actual active fan base, the people who are sort of writing fanfic about them and going online and excitedly chattering about their latest post and everything, is probably a couple of hundred at most. Less than that. I mean, there's a handful of people who are regular posters on the group. 20 or 30. But yeah, how many are buying merchandise and repeatedly going to their shows and things? I don't know. I don't know. There's any sort of way of gauging that. Sort of mid-level fan. Anyway, what is Foil Arms and Hog? The name means their nicknames that they gave each other when they first began to perform together. Like Foil, whose real name is Sean, I'll get this right, Sean Finnegan. Foil is Sean Finnegan, Hog is Sean Flanagan, and I get them mixed up a lot because Foil looks like a Flanagan and Hog looks like a Finnegan. So if I deliberately try to get it wrong, I will get it right, okay? Except sometimes I'm sort of used to it now, so I try to get it wrong, but then I end up getting it wrong. It's like when you're opening up a box of pills or something, some painkillers, and you open it up, and you always get the instruction leaflet, and you have to go open it up, and it's like one more thing to do, and then, but then if you actually think, yes, you're not going to get me this time, turn the box the other way round and then open it, you will 9 times out of 10 just be able to lift your packet of ibuprofen out of the box with ease first time. The instruction leaflet will be on the other side, except when it doesn't. It's exactly the same. Right. Foyle is Sean Finnegan. And he is known as Foyle because he was the foil, like the straight man. And Hogg is Sean Flanagan. He's known as Hogg because he was hogging all the best roles. And Arms, his name is different. He has a different name. He is called Conor McKenna. Right, and he's called Arms because he's got these sort of long, gawky, awkward arms. Yeah, see, they said he's all arms and legs because he's sort of a bit gangly and taller than the others. So that's Arms for short. So he's just known as Arms. Foyle, Arms, and Hogg. I'll talk a bit about them as individuals. What I know. I mean, this is all stuff that is, in the public domain. I don't know any intimate secrets about any of them, Foyle, Sean Finnegan. He's the one he's blonde, he's got sort of big goggly eyes, long, sort of slightly equine face. And he began life, well, I don't know exactly how he began life. I suppose he was born, Began his role in the group as the straight man. It's kind of retained, not necessarily always the straight man, but he's kind of the everyman, the sensible one, the dad friend. And he stands out from the others in that he can do, he's very good at looking kind of harassed, doleful. He can look genuinely menacing in a way that the others are far too cutesy to pull off. Yeah, he's also a guitarist. He also plays guitar. Right, that's all I can really say for now about Foyle. Arms. Right, okay, confession, I have a massive crush on Arms, okay. He is the dazzlingly gorgeous one, with the wave of bittersweet chocolate-coloured hair rippling over his limpid turquoise lagoon-like eyes and the little dimples. And he's a little bit taller than the others. I mean, they kind of make a lot of jokes about how tall he is, but when you see him stood next to something that's a fairly uniform height, like a door frame or a car or something, he's not that massive. See, I wouldn't have thought he was more than about 6 foot tall. I'd be surprised if he was 6 foot tall. I'd put him around 5'10", 5'11". But yeah, they do sort of make a lot of jokes about him being the tall one. Anyway. Being called Arms, he has retained the aura of the one who's kind of a bit awkward and clumsy. That's not doing anything to help me out of my terrible affliction. Something that really surprised me about him, he was born in Luxembourg. What was he doing getting himself born in Luxembourg? I don't know. I mean, he must have spent some time there because he speaks fluent German. And also some Gaelic. And the thing that you notice about Arms quite often when he's performing with the others, when they have a little musical number going on, he doesn't actually play any instruments. There's one sketch where he plays air penny whistle. So it goes back to go. But yeah, he doesn't actually play any instrument. But he has a lovely singing voice. He has a fantastic singing voice. He's also very good at impersonating a woman's voice, especially an elderly woman. In fact, I might go so far as to saying is, in my experience, the best elderly female voice impersonator since Tiny Tim. And then there is Hogg. He's very. Someone mentioned once. I don't know how accurate this is. This is just something that somebody happened to mention in a comment section once. That he's 5'4". He's really little, really dinky. He also plays guitar. I've seen him playing banjo as well. And he was a child actor. He's been in sort of several films, TV shows, stage shows when he was a child. Then apparently that just sort of dried up when he was 18, so he decided he was going to go to university, be an engineer, and then he sort of joined the Drama Society, and that is where he bumped into Arms and Foyle, or Connor and the other Sean, as they were known then. And they all joined the Drama Society. Their first production together was actually a kind of self-penned extra episode of Father Ted. There are some clips of it floating around on YouTube, but I've not actually seen it all the way through. I couldn't tell you what the plot was or anything. But Foyle played Bishop Brennan, Arms played Ted, and Hogg played Dougal. And there were several other people in it as well who did not go on to become successful comedians. So anyway, Foyle, Arms and Hogg, they started doing, just performing together as a little sketch trio. Apparently they had their first paid gig. They got paid €50 and then went outside and found that their car had been clamped and the release fee was €50. Yes, then gradually they started doing more gigs, and their fame grew. They settled in their roles, their kind of personas, and they do swap things around occasionally. I mean, I saw an interview once in which they were talking about these sort of stage personas they have, and talking about how they mix it sometimes just to kind of liven it up for themselves as much as for the audience. Which does make me wonder, actually, are they, like this in real life? I mean, you see them interviewed or doing outros and things, and you see kind of Foyle is still very much like the dad friend. But then Arms, he's more of kind of the front man, the more charismatic, outgoing one. And then Hogg kind of fades into the background. Which surprises me a bit, because when he's on stage, he has this kind of really mercurial, impish kind of energy. He's the wild card. While Foyle's being the normal one and Arms is being the awkward one, he's being, the one that's furthest removed from being adult male human. But yeah, you see him as himself, and he's really sort of quiet, fades away into the background. In fact, someone who's been to a few of the shows says that, he doesn't even turn up to kind of meets and greets and things at the end. They do quite often sort of sit and chat with the audience afterwards, and he's not always there. Maybe he exhausts himself. I don't know what that's about. So, yes. Oh, and Hogg, I've got to mention, he actually speaks fluent Gaelic. He's a first language Irish Gaelic speaker. They have done a couple of sketches in the Irish language, although they aren't all fluent. But yeah, they've done a few Irish language sketches. I will just I will go over a few of their sort of big characters, you know, the fan favourite characters from the Thursday sketches. Probably the most prolific, the most seen, favourite among fans, you know, as far as, you know, writing fanfic and so on is concerned, probably Anna Nasheen, which I can't describe well. Right, and anyway, I try and describe Anna Nasheen is just going to make them sound really cliched. It's a sort of overbearing, interfering mother and a sullen teenage boy. Right, yeah, and it sounds awful, but you know they cover so many aspects of parent-child relationships that, you know, well, certainly I'm a big, you know, comedy viewer, and I've not seen things like that before, you know, things, and I think the really interesting thing about Anna Nasheen as well is the sympathetic character kind of flips back and forth between them. And, you know, they're titled in such a way that you expect Oisin, who's played by Foyle, to be the protagonist. Like, it's things like going on holiday with your parents, parents when you feel ill, parents when you get dumped, going for dinner with your parents, you know. And, but then Anne, who's played by Hogg in a wig, sort of steals the show quite a lot, and certainly as speaking as a parent myself, I do sometimes have sympathy with her, just occasionally, and I think the nice thing about it as well is it's sort of obviously a study of a relationship that's sort of very close, loving relationship, but strained. Yeah, because obviously Oisin, he's 17 years old in the series. It's almost like a sitcom. You know, there've been so many Anna Nasheen sketches that it's like a sitcom. There's hundreds of them. Oh, not literally hundreds. I couldn't guess how many. Where was I? There's a lot of Anna Nasheens. It actually began because Foyle and Hogg had to put something together themselves because Arms had gone on holiday and left all the recording equipment locked inside his house. So they had to put something together using a camera, as that webcam type camera, and they did it so that Anne was sitting at the computer, you know, sort of struggling to navigate the internet, and Oisin was sort of behind her, sort of jumping up, shouting, "No, don't click that! No, that's a scam!" You know, and then the characters developed from that, and they are very highly developed characters now. And I think because, you know, they're aware they have this big following, and you know, the characters are recurring, it sort of becomes self-referential. They refer back to other sketches, and I think as well, what follows on quite well from this is the Foyle, Arms and Hogg playing women. And there was an interviewer who asked them about it once. You know, they said, well, the women in your shows are essentially drag queens. They said, you know, we know we're not going to be convincing as women. You know, it's a man in a funny wig and a dress. You know, we aren't trying to represent women faithfully. They are just silly drag queen type, stereotype characters. And they don't want to get into any kind of debate about, oh, is this character trans? You know, are you saying something about transgenderism? It's a comedic representation of a woman. It's like ceci n'est pas une woman. And there are lots of, you know, most of the recurring sketches have a female character in sometimes. It's usually Hogg, sometimes Arms, very rarely Foyle, occasionally. And you sort of see the same wigs coming out again and again. You know, they've obviously got their prop box, their collection of wigs and dresses and so on, that they keep dipping into. Yeah, and then I'll continue. I'll continue with some favourite characters. The McCormick family. My sister-in-law says it's a bit like Mrs. Brown's Boys. Right. There's the middle son, Darren McCormick. He's played by Hogg. He sort of sits still, and the rest of the family dashes around him. Now, I just find it really clever. There's loads of characters. Foyle and Arms just dash in and out, playing every other character, sort of disturbing him while he's studying. And I think the funny thing is that, you know, this has been going on for a couple of years, and Darren has kind of grown up in real time. Like originally he's a schoolboy, he's trying to study for exams, trying to practice his piano and so on. But then as it gets older, he's coming back from university, talking to his parents. There's one where he gets engaged. And they just keep dashing in, trying to offer advice and disturbing him, and hurrying around trying to do housework and so on. And Arms plays all the women. He plays the mother, the baby sister, the grandma, and Foyle plays the dad and the older brother, who has had about 4 different names. I mean, this is something you notice. Foyle, Arms and Hogg fall down on quite often. They are inconsistent with names and sort of details of their characters' lives. They change regularly. And the oldest McCormack boy has had about 4 different names, though a fanfic writer once wrote that they are actually identical twins who are sometimes known by their first and sometimes their middle names, so that works out perfectly. Yes, and that's the McCormick. And I think I will stop there because my phone is running low, and there will be a part 2 because there is still much to say about Foyle, Arms and Hogg. So I'll charge my phone and be back another time.